Hello and welcome to my channel. I have done a lot of tablet weaving lately and I have learned a lot during the last few months. I started with a very simple 4 forward, 4 backward pattern and then I progressed into more complicated patterns. This is now the most complicated pant I've woven and it has required me to learn a lot of techniques along the way. When I first started, I didn't know how to read the pattern, so the 4 forward, 4 backward pattern was really easy. I could just count the number of turns and then I learned at which point I should switch the turning direction. I also learned how to make a Finnish style tubular selvages. This is something that is not done in European bands, but it's just a Finnish thing. And it was basically present in most of Finnish Iron Age and medieval bands. This video is about my learning journey and what kind of things a beginner might want to know when they start weaving. I can use this complicated band to explain those things that were not so easy to learn. I can start with my weaving setup. The first bands I did was just by tying my warp to a table leg or something, and then I used this kind of fishing swivels that help to untangle the twist that is formed when weaving. Both of those methods have their advantages and disadvantages. If you just tie a warp to a table leg, you can basically weave anywhere. You don't have to stretch out the whole warp, but you can just braid the rest of the warp, and therefore you can just use a short amount of warp at one go. The other end of the warp was always tied to my waist. I was sitting on the floor and it sort of hurt my back, especially because I was using my back muscles to hold the warp tight. Of course, that way you can vary the tension by moving back and forward, but it really didn't work for me very well. So I started investigating several different methods. I've heard that this kind of band weaving loom is, I think it's Danish method. I've looked at several different ways people have constructed these, and this is what I did with the materials I had available. I had just put out these shelves and I had some extra shelving left, so I used one of those. I used this kind of door handle on the other end, and I used this little wooden clamp to hold my warp in place. To get a good angle, I just have a wooden tissue box and it works, but I might add some little piece of wood there later. At this end I have my tablets and another clamp that holds my band in place. This is easy because I can have my work here all the time and I don't have anything putting tension on my back. There's also one clamp here that fastens my glue to the table, and it is really necessary or otherwise this will move back and forth when I'm weaving. I have tablets. Each one has 4 holes which have 4 threads. This gap here is called a shed, and you can get different sheds by turning the tablets around. You can turn all the tablets, which is done in the beginner bands, or just one or several when you are doing more complicated bands. Then there is a shuttle. These yarns are called warp, and this yarn on the shuttle is called weft. One creates the right kind of shed by turning the tablets, and then the shuttle is pulled through. I'll have my pattern always next to me here, and this tells me which tablets I have to turn forward and backward and what kind of color I should get. I'll weave the first row here and you might get an idea. Because this is a Finnish style band, we have those tubular selvages. So the 3 edge modes tablets on both sides form the selvage, and these are not part of the actual pattern. These tablets are always turned forward, but sometimes you can reduce twist by just switching the tablets around, which turns the direction of the twist and untwists the twist you have got. So the first thing you do is to turn the 3 edgemost tablets. If you are left-handed, you will probably start from this side. I'm right-handed, so I start from this side. I'm looking at the pattern and it says to turn 2 tablets backward, that means towards myself. Then it says to turn 2 tablets forward, away from myself, like so. I'm using my left hand to hold the tablets that I've already turned in place, and I have the other tablets that haven't been yet turned clamped between my fingers on my right hand, but so that I can have my thumb and forefinger free for turning the tablets. The next one is 4 tablets backward, so I'm taking these, clamping these that I don't need, and turning these like so, and then I put them here. Then it's 5 forward, so I take the 5 tablets, turn them forward, and store them here. 2 backward, like so, and 2 forward, and these last salvage tablets go forward. Now, I move the tablet slightly to open the shed properly. In my first weaving videos that I filmed, I moved these tablets way too much. That might be a problem because moving the tablets too much wears the warp yarns down and you might get breakage, which is not nice. Then I hold the shed with my forefinger and I lift the selvage tablets over my finger so that I have all the yarns above my finger. This I do to make the tubular selvage. Now I take my shuttle and pull it through where my forefinger holds the shed, so underneath the selvage yarns. I'll tighten my weave with the shuttle and then I pull it through. I put the yarn very close to the weaving I've done, and then I clamp the edge between my thumb and middle finger or forefinger, and I sort of hold it so that I get the nice edge. As the last stage, I'll mark down the line that I just made. So these are the basics. Another thing is to know whether your weaving progresses the right way. This is the pattern from the book Tablet Woven Treasures, and it's by Mervi, Pasanen and Maikki, Karisto. They have developed a special system of marking down the patterns. This way shows not only the color, but the direction and the number of turns you have to make. How do you read these pattern depends on the original position of the tablets, but luckily in this case all the tablets have been threaded from the same side, so that makes the reading simple. The stitches oriented this way, so they are slanting to the left. These mark the twist going towards myself, that means backwards. When you have the stitch slanting towards the right, that means that I have to twist my tablets away from myself, that is forward. If I had the tablets threaded from the right hand side to the left hand side, then I should read this in the opposite direction, but let's just forget that because that makes it even more complicated. When you have a backward stitch, you read the pattern by reading the yarn coming from this upper edge that is closest to you. So here we have 2, in this line we just did, we have 2 black stitches, and I can check them here. There is 1 black or 1 dark and another dark stitch. And these are the yarns that will show on top of the band. Then we have 2 forward stitches. The forward stitches you have to read on the back side. So here we check, this is white and this is dark.
so this is correct. Basically, you always read the yarn that goes over the top, whether it is to this direction or this direction. When you get the hang of it, you learn to look at the colors while you are twisting the tablets, and you immediately see if something is not right. It is a good idea to check also the pattern. It's a good thing that the pattern is usually symmetric, so if one side looks different from the other side, you'll see my weft yarn is linen and my warp is wool. This is very often in Finnish Iron Age bands, so that you have some kind of plant fiber in your weft and wool for the warp. Only the warp yarns show, well, you can see little dots of weft yarn, but basically the pattern is formed by the warp yarns. So let's weave another row. It's the selvage tablets, 2 backwards, 2 forwards, 4 backwards, 5 forwards, 2 backwards, and the rest is forwards plus the selvage. Open the shed, take out the selvage yarns, and then go through. And when one gets the hang of it, it goes faster. Now, on the next row, there is a half turn. That means that I have to turn one of the tablets, or actually 2 of the tablets, twice. So here I turn the tablet forward, but there is one stitch marked with 2 stitches, one inside another. And that means that I have to turn it another time. And I get the dark color like I should. Then there is again 5 backwards, 4 forwards, and another half turn. So here I do this and this. Then I continue to the end of the row. These half turns create a smaller stitch, and they are often used to define the corners of the patterns at the band. If I run out of weft, I'll just start a new one and leave the ends. When I'm finished with the weaving, I will just weave these weft ends to the back side of my band. And by the way, the back side of the band looks completely different from the right side, and that is supposed to be so.
Thank you for watching. You can help to support my channel by liking, commenting and subscribing, and if you want, you can always buy me a coffee. See you soon. Bye!